of time, please?
Ganguly here.
Ganguly.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is your inference from this? Do you know that this is very frequently asked MCQ percentages of tumor necrosis and malignancy in post-chemotherapy specimen? Are you aware that there is a question MCQ on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Even it is there in review also.
In review also it is there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You have done a RPLND. Post you are given a chemotherapy. There is a mass remaining.
Okay.
And you do a RPLND for the residual mass.
Okay.
What would be the percentage that you would suggest in the specimen? This is MCQ. Go ahead. I have given you 4 scenarios.
40% for necrosis, 45% teratoma, and 15%.
No, you just tell me what will be the maximum component. That is the way you have to remember.
Teratoma.
Teratoma will be the maximum.
Teratoma.
What will be the maximum component?
45%.
Teratoma.
Wonderful. Okay. Next question. Post-salvage chemotherapy RPLND.
Viable tissue.
Malignancy.
50%.
Okay. In a patient with mediastinal non-seminomatous germ cell tumor, he has undergone chemotherapy.
Necrosis.
What will be having more?
Necrosis.
Necrosis or malignancy? You see the one.
Malignancy.
53%. Malignancy will be high in mediastinal tumor.
Okay. Next, patient with non-retroperitoneal sites. What will be the maximum component?
Necrosis.
Okay, you are all on the correct lines. Now I will tell you my mantra again. How to remember these things. Now you are told because it's everything on the slides, but in the exam you will forget. If the patient is having primary testicular malignancy and he has undergone RPLND, the maximum component is, Ganguly will answer this. Maximum component is? Why teratoma? The mnemonic you have to tell.
TT.
Exactly. Testicular primary, maximum component is teratoma. So in the options, you will be given the teratoma which is having maximum component. You have to mark that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In a patient with non-retroperitoneal metastasis, he has underwent necrosis. Who is answering this one? Rohit.
Non-testicular primary will be necrosis.
Who is answering? Non-retroperitoneal sites. Post chemotherapy RPLND. N for N, necrosis will be the maximum component. Okay.
Necrosis will be the maximum component.
In a primary mediastinal, what will be the maximum component?
It will be GC.
Who is answering? Answer ko muh khol ke bolna.
GC Ganguly.
What is the mnemonic to remember this one?
M for M.
Exactly. Primary testicular, T for T, maximum is teratoma. Primary mediastinal, M for M, maximum will be malignancy. If post chemotherapy at non-retroperitoneal sites, RPLND, N for N, maximum will be necrosis. Okay. And there is one more scenario, salvage chemotherapy. The fourth point.
Hello, sir.
Fourth salvage chemotherapy, the maximum will be malignancy, right? Post salvage chemotherapy. Matlab you are given the second line chemotherapy also, you are given salvage also, but still the malignancy is persisting. Okay. These 4 clinical scenarios, they will be asking a pakka in MCQ. This is the mantra I am giving to you. If you are liking this one, keep it with you and it will be useful in your exam.
Sir, hello.
Bol.
Sir. Sir, can you please come again? Just once again, just those 4 criteria and scenarios.
See, patient with retroperitoneal nodes,
yes,
who has been underwent chemotherapy.
Yeah.
After chemotherapy, there is a residual mass.
Yeah.
And he has underwent RPLND. That is called post chemotherapy RPLND specimen.
Yes.
In that patient, if the the primary was in the testis,
So the teratoma will be more predominant.
that RPLND specimen will show you maximum teratoma component.
Yes, sir. TT.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
In a patient who has underwent resection of RPLND who has underwent RPLND after chemotherapy, if the primary is in the mediastinum,
Then there will be tumor. More.
maximum will be tumor, viable malignancy.
Yes.
Patient is having multiple metastatic sites. That
Yes,
is in the non-retroperitoneal metastatic sites, multiple non-retroperitoneal, like in the chestal supraclavicular fossa.
Then there will be necrosis.
In those patients, you give chemotherapy, but still there is some amount of mass that is persisting.
Yes, sir.
In the non-retroperitoneal sites, if you are doing resection of the residual mass,
Yeah.
it will be showing necrosis as the predominant
Necrosis.
component.
Yes, sir.
And patient who has underwent second line chemotherapy, that is called as post salvage chemotherapy RPLND.
Yeah.
मतलब तेरा first line भी हो गया, second line भी हो गया, patient is still not responding. In that
Residual mass
patient,
is still there.
residual mass is still there, it will be showing malignancy as the predominant component.
Malignant.
Okay. This is very frequently asked MCQ, that is why I am insisting more.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you see Campbell, you will get confused.
Yes,
I had simplified this one for you. Okay. All of you mute yourself. We will go for the next slides. Now we are done for the management of residual masses also. How do you manage a special condition called as? Okay. How do you manage a teratoma? Teratoma, what is the fate? If left untreated, it can rapidly grow in some patients. It is called as rapid growing teratoma syndrome. It can disappear and it can appear as a late relapse. It is called as late relapsing teratoma. Or it can undergo malignant transfer. Everyone please mute yourself. It can undergo... Okay. Or it can undergo a malignant transformation. It's seen a lot. It transforms into non-germ cell tumor malignancy. The MCQ again here is that most common non-germ cell malignancy in which teratoma transforms is rhabdomyosarcoma. In the rhabdomyosarcoma, if you are doing it, shows the isochrome 12P, which confirms its origin from the teratoma. There is no role of chemotherapy in a malignant transformation. It has to be, the rhabdomyosarcoma has to be resected. Okay. Okay. Residual masses at multiple anatomic sites like supraclavicular or lung. Okay. Residual masses at multiple anatomic sites. As I told you, N stands for N, maximum will be having necrosis. How do you manage that? He's having retroperitoneal mass, he's having a supraclavicular mass, he's having a lung mass. So you don't resect all the masses at one sitting. See the one that is given in green at the bottom. If it's present at multiple sites, first do RPLND. If the RPLND specimen is showing necrosis, then in most of the times it can be concordant with the other sites. So if it is showing necrosis, you need not go and resect the other sites. So you can simply put the patient under observation. This is MCQ again. Multiple metastatic sites. Do you resect all at the time, or you resect first retroperitoneum and go for other sites? The answer should be resect retroperitoneum first and go for the other sites later on based on the pathology of the retroperitoneal sample. There's something given called as Fizazi criteria in Campbell. It is basically to predict the 5-year risk factors that affect the 5-year survival. Fizazi criteria, this you by heart by yourself, nothing so great in this one. Okay. This is nothing but to impress upon you the two terms. They are called as post chemotherapy surgery, post salvage chemotherapy surgery. Post chemotherapy surgery is that surgery you do after first line chemotherapy. Post salvage chemotherapy surgery, matlab the patient has failed first line chemotherapy, he underwent second line chemotherapy, but still even after second line chemotherapy also there is some amount of residual mass. Then you do what is called as post salvage chemotherapy surgery. In these patients, as I told you, there is more of malignancy. There is more of malignancy in the patient who has underwent post salvage chemotherapy surgery. And the next scenario is how to treat the relapses. Relapses are treated basically if the you decide based whether the patient has underwent chemotherapy previously or not. If the patient is not taken chemotherapy previously, now you can either put the patient on active surveillance or RP-LND. If the patient has taken chemotherapy previously, you divide the patient into less than 2 years or more than 2 years. Here's how you divide. In chemo-naive patients of stage 1 patient, just imagine if the patient was on active surveillance, stage 1 patient on active surveillance, he has got a relapse. That is, he has got a 5 centimeter retroperitoneal mass upon follow-up. So, as it is more than 3 centimeters, you directly go for chemotherapy. But if the mass is less than 3 centimeters with a normal serum tumor markers, you can consider an RP-LND. As I told you, there are 3 options: CAR, chemotherapy, active surveillance, and RP-LND. In a patient with relapse, you see what is the size. Smaller size with normal markers, you can give RP-LND. Large size with elevated markers, it means that size big, it means that it is already, it has high risk of metastatic to other sides. So when the risk of metastasis is present, there is no role of RP-LND. You have to do chemotherapy only. So in a stage 2 or 2B patient, if the relapse is after RP-LND, it means that the patient is not taken chemotherapy previously. You can go for induction chemotherapy with first line drugs. The first line drugs are BEP. I think I'll skip all this one. This will be a bit confusing for you. Relapses, I think it will be not touched more for you. What is important for you in relapses is that relapses, I'll do one thing. I'll now cover, I will cover basic management. Relapses, I'll take up one session by me and Venki. We'll put up in a scenario-based discussion so that you'll have a better understanding. What I need to impress upon you is that in a patient who has got a relapse, in a relapse is basically classified into 2 types. Someone who has received chemotherapy previously is post-chemotherapy relapse. Someone who has not received chemotherapy previously is chemo-naive. In post-chemotherapy relapse, it is of 2 types. Less than 2 years is early relapse. More than 2 years is late relapse. In the late relapses, the teratoma can undergo malignant transformation, and this is important, very important MCQ again. In a late relapse, malignant transformed teratoma, what is the most common transformation? It is adenocarcinoma. MCQ again, adenocarcinoma. So I will tell you, don't confuse between the fate of untreated teratoma. In an untreated teratoma, the fate will be most common malignant transformation will be into rhabdomyosarcoma. But in a patient with non-seminomatous germinal cell tumor who has underwent chemotherapy and has got a relapse, in this relapse, the malignant tissue that will be seen is adenocarcinoma. So the teratoma malignant transformation in a late relapse is most commonly it is adenocarcinoma. The teratoma malignant transformation when it is left untreated is rhabdomyosarcoma. This is an MCQ, very potential, can be asked again. Asked multiple times in AIIMS in the past. Potential to be asked in NEET also. Simple one-liner. Untreated teratoma, most common transformation into rhabdomyosarcoma. Relapsed teratoma, most common malignant transformation into adenocarcinoma. This slide, okay? And just to summarize NSGCT, NSGCT stage 1, low risk patient, that is, there is no lymphovascular invasion. Best treatment is 1 cycle of BEP. Stage 2A or B, see if the tumor is less than 3 centimeters and normal markers, then do RP-LND. Best treatment is RP-LND. You get a scenario in which patient has got a 2 centimeter retrometroidal node with normal tumor markers. In that patient, best option is RP-LND. And you do the RP-LND and send the specimen for histopathology. If the histopathology is showing only necrotic tissue and no malignancy, nothing else to be done for this patient. But if the nodes are positive for tumor, you give 2 cycles of BEP. In a stage 2A or B patient with elevated serum tumor markers, straightforward, go for 3 cycles of BEP. Advanced disease, good risk, 3 cycles of BEP. Intermediate or poor risk patient, 4 cycles of BEP. So the mnemonic you can remember is that 1, 2, 3, 4. Stage 1, 1 cycle of BEP. Stage 2, those who have underwent RP-LND, if the nodes are positive, 2 cycles of BEP. If the tumor markers are positive in an advanced disease, good risk, 3 cycles of BEP. Intermediate and poor risk, 4 cycles of BEP. This is the only MCQ that we will ask you. MCQ will be given advanced disease with poor risk, which is the treatment option. Your answer should be 4 cycles of BEP. Stage 1 NSGCT, high risk features. Your answer should be 1 cycle of BEP. Stage 1, no high risk features or low risk patient. Your answer should be active surveillance. Stage 1 in a patient who has undergone RP-LND, nodes are positive. The answer should be 2 cycles of BEP. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is no chance that you will forget this thing again. I will cover an unusual scenario called as growing teratoma syndrome. In a patient who has 2C or 3, that is advanced germ cell tumor, when you give a first line chemotherapy, you do a CT scan, and if you see that the mass is enlarging and is a cystic, the catchword is here is a cystic. If the mass is showing a cystic nature and there is a serum tumor marker decline, it means that teratomas, normally they don't produce any serum tumor markers. So it is called as the size is increasing, but markers are negative. So it is called as growing teratoma syndrome. As I told you previously, teratomas are not chemosensitive. So in these patients of growing teratoma syndrome, you stop the chemotherapy and go for a surgery. After surgery, they have a very good long-term survival. Okay. The question will be given to you. Patient is on chemotherapy. The serum tumor markers have come down. Ideally, if the chemo is working, markers have to come down and the size also has to come down. But here the markers are coming down, but size is growing, and the catchword, the CT will be showing a cystic enlargement. This is called as growing teratoma syndrome. Don't fall to the trap. He was being given 3 cycles of BEP. Don't fall to the trap and go up for 4 cycles of BEP. The serum tumor markers are normalizing here, and cystic nature will indicate that it is a teratoma. The best option in this patient should be surgery and not chemotherapy. You have to stop the chemo and give the patient surgery. And I will tell you what is called as desperation surgery, desperation RP-LND. Desperation RP-LND. Okay. Okay, my slides are not changing. Desperation RP-LND is term that can be asked in an MCQ. When you do a surgery for a scenario where the tumor markers are elevated, you do a first line chemotherapy. If the patient is having progressive disease, you go for a second line chemotherapy. For the residual mass after first line chemotherapy, for a patient has undergone first line chemotherapy and there is a residual mass, then you do a surgery. It is called as post chemotherapy surgery. Patient has undergone second line chemotherapy. He has got a residual mass with normal serum tumor markers. Then you call it post salvage chemotherapy surgery. In any of this scenario, residual mass with increased serum tumor markers, either after first line chemotherapy or after second line chemotherapy, then you call it as a desperation surgery, desperation RP-LND. Desperation RP-LND is an MCQ. The catchword is that the residual mass with an elevated serum tumor markers, increased STM, then you call it as an desperation surgery. Here again covered you to you. After residual mass with normal serum tumor markers, you call it as a post-chemotherapy surgery after first-line chemotherapy, or you call it as a post-salvage chemotherapy surgery after a second-line chemotherapy because the markers are normal. If the markers are elevated, you call it desperation surgery. Even if it was first-line therapy or second-line chemotherapy, you call it as a desperation surgery. Okay. Now we are done with an NSGCT. We will go for seminoma. Seminoma, as I told you, there are three options. CAR. Here R stands for radiation therapy. One important term that you need to remember is called as dog leg radiation therapy. So it resembles the shape of a dog leg. So when you are giving radiation to the retroperitoneum plus ipsilateral pelvis, this is the shape of a dog leg. So it is called dog leg radiation. Previously, it was practiced dog leg radiation in stage 1, in which 20 to 25 grays is given in 20 fractions. Dog leg radiation, it has got wonderful results. This can come as an MCQ to you. In a patient who has underwent dog leg radiation with 30 fractions of 30 grays of radiation, which of the following you will not use for surveillance? Dog leg radiation is a very high dose of radiation. The chances of recurrence after dog leg radiation is very less. So you don't need to do a abdominal ultrasound or CT scan to look for the local recurrence in a patient with DLRT. Okay. This is a screenshot from Campbell. You do only chest X-ray, you do only serum tumor markers and clinical examination, but you don't do an ultrasound. Dog leg radiation is that side effect is actually there's a scatter of radiation to the testis. Patient can go into oligospermia. It's a very high dose and patient can have cardiotoxicity and second malignant neoplasm. SMN stands for second malignant neoplasm. As dog leg is having so many problems, they have come up with a concept called as para-aortic. That is, instead of giving chemotherapy to the entire radiation to the entire area, you can simply, this is this is retroperitoneal and iliac. They have found that iliac region was having less chance of metastasis, lymph nodes. So why not eliminate this limb and give only para-aortic? So they have come up with a concept called as para-aortic radiation. So what they found was that in a this is called PART, para-aortic radiation therapy versus dog leg radiation therapy. There was a study done, and in a low risk patients, that is stage 1 seminoma, you need not give dog leg radiation. You need not give dog leg radiation. You just give para-aortic radiation. It is good enough. Okay. So in a stage 1 seminoma, the best option, the better option is para-aortic rather than dog leg radiation. If the patient right, if the patient is not suitable for radiation or wishes to undergo chemotherapy, in a stage 1 seminoma, the drug of choice is carboplatin. Unlike in the case of NSGCT, the stage 1 was drug of choice was BEP. Here the drug of choice is single drug carboplatin. MCQ again. Stage 1 NSGCT, single cycle of BEP. Stage 1 seminoma, single drug carboplatin. And the MCQ that I will be asking you is, what is the dose of carboplatin? Here it in Campbell it is given as 7 into GFR plus 25. This is difficult to remember. I had simplified it for you. You can easily remember that as GFR plus 25 into 7. Simply remember that the dose of carboplatin is GFR plus 25 into 7. The most important thing that is important here is that the GFR is calculated based on the radioisotope scan. It is not an estimated GFR. It is not an estimated GFR. So you calculate the GFR based on DTPA and give the patient a single cycle carboplatin, standard of care single cycle carboplatin based on GFR estimation. If you are not able to do a DTPA scan and GFR estimation, you simply give two cycles of carboplatin. Okay. So take home message is that in a patient with stage 1 seminoma, surveillance is the best option. If the patient is not fit for surveillance, if not willing for surveillance, then the next option is single cycle of carboplatin or para-aortic radiation therapy. Not dogleg radiation therapy, just para-aortic radiation therapy. This single slide is important for you. Low risk patient, surveillance. Low risk is no involvement of ready testis and less than 4 centimeters. High risk patient, ready testis involved or more than 4 centimeters, single dose of carboplatin. Okay. In a stage 2A or B, the options are stage 2A, better option is 30 grays of DLRT, dog leg radiation therapy. In a stage 2B patient, what you need to remember is that 30 grays of DLRT plus boost to the involved area. Boost to the involved, we will carry it for 15 more minutes and later on we shall hang up. I'll summarize everything and we should hang up by 9 p.m. Okay. So stage 2A choice is 30 grays of dog leg radiation. Stage 2B 30 grays of dog leg radiation plus 5 grays of additional boost to the involved area. Advanced DCT in a good and intermediate risk. Just like I told you, advanced seminoma there is no poor risk. Here the treatment is same. Just like NSGCT, for good risk it is 3 BEP. For intermediate risk there is 4 BEP. Important thing, residual masses after chemotherapy. How do you manage in a seminoma? The only place where FDG PET is relevant is residual mass after seminoma. If the mass is, you just have a look at this flowchart that I have made. One thing I will tell you, please just go to the handwritten flowcharts that I have given you. The handwritten flowcharts are wonderful. You can get your concepts clear. Nothing more is required. Don't go into the theory. Just have a look at the handwritten flowcharts. In a patient with seminoma who has underwent chemotherapy, the mass size is less than 3 centimeters. कुछ नहीं करना है वो patient में. Just observe the patient. If the mass size is more than 3 centimeters, he has got a 30% chance of malignancy. In that patient, you do a FDG PET scan. FDG PET is negative, just follow up the patient. FDG PET is positive, you do a surgery and remove that lymph node residual mass. If that residual mass is showing necrosis only and there is no malignancy, nothing else to do. If the residual mass is showing malignancy present, then you give 2 cycles of BEP. Relapse, I will discuss again in a scenario-based thing to you. To finalize, the last slide for the day is how to handle brain mets. Brain mets, as I told you, you have to do CT scan in any patient with having a HCG more than 10,000. Treatment is 4 cycles of BEP. It is just like an advanced germ cell tumor. 4 cycle of BEP plus neurosurgical resection of the residual mass. In those patients in whom the mass cannot be resected, you give a radiation therapy. You do a stereotactic radiosurgery, and stereotactic radiosurgery, if it is not possible, then you go for a radiation therapy. I think we are done for the day. One more important MCQ that can be asked that's not given in Campbell, but general surgery books do mention this is that the other classification name for CA testis is Borden and Gibbs. Borden and Gibbs staging. Just like Robson staging for kidney, Jackson staging for penis, Borden and Gibbs staging is for testis. Okay. I will summarize it for you. I will just have a look at the handwritten slides. Your entire concepts will be clear. NSGCT. See, NSGCT single slide. You will be given a question. NSGCT stage 1. NSGCT stage 1. You go on the risk stratification model. Low risk patient, that is patient who is not having lymphovascular invasion and not having EC component. You do an active surveillance. Stage 2A or B. If the mass is less than 3 centimeters, do an RPLND. Mass is more than 3 centimeters or the markers elevated, you 3 cycles of BEP. Stage 3C, 2C or 3, you apply the IGCCG criteria. If it is a good risk, see, this thing is same in both seminoma and non-seminoma. Good risk patients, 3 cycles of BEP. Intermediate or poor risk patients, 4 cycles of BEP. This is same in both. Only this part is varying. And so I think NSGCT management you are clear. In seminoma management, stage 1 seminoma management, this is a take home slide. Stage 1 surveillance is the best option in a patient. This is a take home slide. Best option is a surveillance in a patient with low risk disease. What is low risk disease? No RT testis involvement and size less than 4 centimeters. In NSGCT, low risk disease is no lymphovascular invasion and no absence of EC component. Here low risk is RT testis is not involved and size less than 4 centimeters. In both places, low risk, stage 1, surveillance is the best option. Relapse thing I will discuss again tomorrow with Venki in a clinical based scenario. Don't worry. Relapse thing I will. No. In a high risk patient, single dose carboplatin is the drug of choice. MCQ that they will ask you is that what is how you calculate the dose? Dose is GFR calculated on DTPA plus 25 into 7. If you are not able to calculate the GFR, you can go for a 2 cycles of carboplatin directly. Stage 2 NSGCT, dogleg radiation. Important point is that in stage 1, don't use dogleg radiation. You just use para-aortic. You can eliminate the iliac limb. Stage 1 only para-aortic radiation. Stage 2 dogleg radiation of 30 grays. In 2B, dogleg radiation plus a boost to the enlarged lymph node area. Boost of 10 centigrades. Stage 2C and 3, the management is same. Good risk, 3 cycles of BEP. Intermediate or poor risk, 4 cycles of BEP. Now I am unmuting you all. Unmuting you all. I think the management of NSGCT. Yeah, now management of seminoma and NSGCT is clear for you. I am unmuting you all. You can ask your questions. Any doubts you have?
Sir, once tell me about stage 2 seminoma, sir. Stage 2A and 2B seminoma.
Stage 2A and 2B. Radiation therapy is the best option because I told you, no, seminoma will melt like semen. If you give radiation. Sir. Okay?
Sir, why not try radiotherapy for stage 1 high risk, sir? Radiotherapy.
Stage 1, it has been found that carboplatin is giving best results compared to radiotherapy.
Okay, so when we use para-aortic CAR-T, sir? In stage 1, when we use para-aortic CAR-T, sir?
Stage 1 only para-aortic. You need not give to the iliac area. So it is simply called as a para-aortic strip. In stage 2, dogleg radiation.
Low risk, stage 1 you said for low risk active surveillance and high risk carboplatin. Then what is the use of para-aortic? When will you use para-aortic?
Stage 1 you don't use para-aortic. Stage 1 you prefer carboplatin. If the patient is not fit for carboplatin, then you go for radiation.
Okay.
Low risk patient, first option is active surveillance. High risk patient, carboplatin is first option. If the patient is not fit for carboplatin, then you go for radiation. That radiation is also only para-aortic radiation, not dogleg radiation.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir. I'm having doubt about desperation surgery.
Desperation surgery is any
Sir,
surgery that is done
just a
in
minute.
a scenario
Sir,
of elevated serum tumor markers.
Okay, sir, but usually it is done after second line chemo. If serum tumor markers are increased, we will be giving desperation surgery. It's fine. But after first line chemotherapy, if serum tumor markers are increased, why can't we go for second line chemotherapy? Then what are the indication at that time after first line chemotherapy with serum tumor marker increased?
You give a first line chemotherapy, serum tumor markers are increasing. Ideally, you have to go. I understood your question. First line chemotherapy, you give,
Disturbance are there.
serum tumor markers are increasing. Ideally, you have to go for a second line chemotherapy.
Yes, sir.
But if the mass is very large and it is compressing the ureters, if it is causing symptoms, even if the mass, if it is causing compression of the IBC,
Yes,
patient
sir.
is having pedal edema. If it is causing PPT, in these patients, rather than going for second line chemotherapy, you immediately, desperately, you remove that mass. सही तरीका good second line chemotherapy. But
Yes, sir.
in desperation, you are doing this surgery. You are not doing by will and want. In desperation only, you are doing this surgery.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ideally, what you said is second line chemotherapy should be the choice.
Yes, sir.
Guys, one small request, please don't exit. Guys, please hold on for a minute. All the 180 participants, I had dropped survey. I had dropped a survey regarding the class that you can find in our WhatsApp group as well as in the chat box in the Zoom. There are a few basic questions that have been put up regarding the classes, how good and your response to the classes and your suggestions. Please kindly take 30 seconds of your time and participate in the survey. And please give your valuable feedback so that we can get better output for you. You can participate in the survey. Please don't leave any more questions. I am here still to answer you. The session is not done. We will finish off end for now. But tomorrow or day after, again, we shall resume with clinical based scenarios. We shall finish off within half an hour clinical based scenarios. And I will cover the templates of RPLND, modified template, standard template, extended template. 3 things that need to be stressed upon. And relapses after seminoma and non-seminoma, that also I will cover in the next class. In half an hour session, I can cover that. Not an issue.
Most common tumor progressing for late relapses.
I'll tell you, but please, everyone, please participate in the survey. My humble request, please participate, and for my so much effort, you please take 30 seconds of your time and give a lot of time from my side. Please take some time, okay? Don't worry, CA testis is not yet over. I will take some more time to clear your concept tomorrow or day after tomorrow within half an hour. Yes, someone was asking something.
Sir.
Good day. Orchidectomy. When do we again see serum tumor markers?
Be loud, man. Be loud.
Post orchidectomy, when do we again see serum tumor markers?
Post orchidectomy, when do you repeat the serum tumor markers? That's MCQ again. Normally, you do it for the upper limit of the half-life of the upper marker is 8 days.
7 days.
7 days. So at least you wait for 1 to 2 weeks. After which you do a repeat. Less than 7 days if you are doing, there is no point.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any more questions? I'm here.
Sir,
Sir.
Tell your name and ask the question.
Sir, late relapse. Late relapse is a common feature of either teratoma or yolk sac, sir.
See, it is a confusing thing. Late relapse in a patient who has undergone chemotherapy previously, he can have a relapse after 2 years. That is called as late relapse. In this late relapse, the teratoma can get converted into some other non-germ cell malignancy. Okay?
Sir.
There are 2 scenarios. Patient who has undergone, who is speaking to me?
Lakshman, sir.
Lakshman,
Opposite,
see,
opposite.
teratoma, there are two scenarios. Teratoma, if left untreated, it can transform into malignancy. In that scenario, it will most commonly transform into rhabdomyosarcoma. Teratoma, in whom patients who had underwent chemotherapy previously, teratoma will transform into adenocarcinoma. Basically, teratoma has the character of malignant transformation. In untreated patients, it transfers more commonly into rhabdomyosarcoma. In post-chemotherapy relapse patient, it most commonly transforms into adenocarcinoma. MCQs for you.
Sir, small doubt, sir. This is Koteshwar Rao.
Koteshwar Rao.
Sir, I read in one book, sir, that viable malignancy will convert into yolk sac tumor.
Yes, it's about
And
54 to
malignant
88.
transformation, sir?
It is not in one book. You must have read in Campbell only, and it is present in my slides also.
Yes, sir. That's what I just confused.
No, don't worry. I'll show you here. Nothing to confuse at all. Again, a request from my side. Please, everyone, do participate in the survey.
So one more doubt.
And I'll clear that doubt for you. I'll clear that doubt and let's go to the next one. So what you have asked is that in the relapse, Koteshwar Rao.
Sir, I'm here.
What did you ask?
Sir, that relapse, late relapse, especially, the most common malignancy is yolk sac carcinoma.
See, late relapse, if it is relapse, most commonly you can see on the screen. Most commonly is yolk sac tumor.
Yes.
Okay, but
that is from the viable malignancy. Viable
malignancy.
Germ cell tumor.
Germ cell tumor. But in late relapse, if the teratoma has transformed into malignancy.
That is the thing. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Late relapses are more commonly into yolk sac tumor only. What you said is right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In a late relapse, if the teratoma undergoes malignant transformation, then it is adenocarcinoma.
Okay, malignant transformation is most common is adenocarcinoma.
Teratoma
viable tumor conversion into is yolk sac tumor is more common. Okay,
if the question is most common viable malignancy that is seen in a late relapse, the answer is yolk sac tumor.
Yes, sir.
If the question is most common malignant transformation of teratoma seen in a late relapse, the answer is adenocarcinoma.
Okay.
Without any treatment is rhabdomyosarcoma.
Hello.
Again, before leaving, I will tell you for good risk and intermediate risk and poor risk, the treatment is same in both seminoma and non-seminoma. 3 cycles of BEP for good risk, 4 cycles of BEP for intermediate and poor risk.
Hello.
Yes,
hello.
who's speaking?
Yeah, Ganguly here, sir.
Sorry?
Ganguly here, sir.
Ganguly, yeah.
Yeah, sir, I just want to cross-check one thing. That regarding it is seminoma stage 2, if it is a less than 3 centimeter, we are going for RPLND. If it is more than 3 centimeter, then we are going for
less than 3 centimeter with normal serum tumor markers.
With normal serum markers, we are going for RPLN.
Exactly.
And if it is more than 3 centimeter, then we are going for chemo and with BEP4, BEP3 or EP4. And then we are going for radiation, or straightway are we jumping to radiation?
I didn't get you.
No, he continued in non-seminoma and seminoma.
Seminoma, in seminoma stage 2. Stage 2 disease, if it is more than 3 centimeter, and we are going for BEP4, BEP3 and EP4. Are we?
No.
Stage
okay.
2. Okay.
Then,
No. Actually, what he is saying that.
Let's search, please.
Okay.
I didn't get you.
I'm saying, sir.
First of all, you are speaking about seminoma or non-seminoma?
Seminoma only. Seminoma, we are going for dog leg if it is more than 3 centimeter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you are going for the dog leg therapy.
If it is stage 2, more than 3 centimeter of mass, then we are going for dog leg, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So now on this case, if it is a 2C or 3 disease, seminoma 2C or 3,
2C seminoma or non-seminoma?
Seminoma, sir, seminoma only. I'm just talking about seminoma only.
You talk about anything, it will be the same.
Both are BEP3 cycles.
BEP3.
BEP only.
EP4.
BEP.
Funda, take home point. Seminoma or non-seminoma? Stage 2, 3,
4 centimeter, I guess.
Same.
Stage 2, 3 and C, the same treatment. BEP3 for good risk,
Or
BEP4 for intermediate and poor risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stage 3, stage 2C and 3, same treatment for seminoma and non-seminoma. Good risk BEP3, intermediate and poor risk
BEP4.
BEP4.
And after giving BEP4, if the patient is having a discrete lesion of more than 3 centimeter, then sir, we are doing a FDG PET. The FDG PET is coming after CT residual, after giving chemotherapy.
Chemotherapy you have given.
Yeah. And after that, if there is residual mass, then we are going for FDG PET.
Residual mass, if it is more than 3 centimeters only, then you can FDG PET. If it is less than 3 centimeters, there is no need of FDG PET also.
Yeah. So if it is positive, if it is 3 centimeter, if it is coming positive, then you are going for surgery.
Surgery.
And after the surgery, sir?
If the surgery is showing necrosis only, if it is showing necrosis only, nothing to do, just follow up.
Yeah.
If it is showing viable malignancy, give him 2 cycles of BEP.
2 cycles of BEP. 2 cycles of BEP.
Sorry, 2 cycles of, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. 2 cycles of second line chemotherapy.
Second line chemotherapy.
Exactly.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Anything else? Come on, shoot.
Sir, Richam here.
Richam, go.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Sir, could you please just summarize as to how many lymph nodes have to be removed in all the tumors that we studied today, sir?
10 and 8.
I'll get back to you that on WhatsApp.
10 and 8.
I can add on this if you want. See, for bladder tumor, 10. And for upper tract urothelial, it is 8. So, he's my kid.
One question from Sumit sir. Sir, border of retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, like you told about pelvic.
Border of?
Medial lateral. What is the medial lateral superior and inferior boundary of RPLND?
RPLND, what is RPLND? Actually, I will take you in the next session, but still, if you want to listen to it now, laterally, it is the ureterus on both sides. Medially, it is onto the midline of the aorta. Superiorly, it is up to the level of renal hilum. And inferiorly, it is up to the level of inferior mesenteric artery.
Common bifurcation.
Next, anything else?
Sir, can you repeat that residual mass mantra for it?
Residual mass in seminoma. Residual mass in seminoma, if it is less than 3 centimeters, nothing else to be done.
No, sir, that T4T, what you were saying.
Oh, that percentage of residual masses.
Yeah.
Percentage of residual masses in a patient who has underwent post chemotherapy RPLND.
For testes and
Who's
for
speaking to me?
mediastinal.
If the primary is in the testes, then it will
If it
be
is
teratoma.
testis and if it is mediastinum, then there will be teratoma. Two places there will be tumor will be residual. One is mediastinum and another is the testicular.
Okay. If the primary was in the testis,
it is teratoma.
It is teratoma. It is teratoma.
Most common component that you will see will be teratoma.
Teratoma.
Testis
If
for
the primary was in the mediastinum,
more malignant.
And one more
T for T.
Yeah.
This is for post chemotherapy surgery, first line chemotherapy. But for post salvage chemotherapy, most common would be malignancy. Okay.
Salvage will be.
Yes.
In a patient, fourth scenario is in a patient with multiple anatomic sites having metastasis, and you have done a RPL and you have done a resection of non-retroperitoneal sites. Non-retroperitoneal sites.
Necrosis.
Exactly. Wonderful. So I'm happy that you are all on the correct line. Anything else?
Nothing, sir.
In the handwritten flowchart of relapse seminoma.
See, everything, just my handwritten flowcharts you see, nothing else required. Handwritten flowchart of?
There's something I could not understand in the relapse seminoma. It's probably your handwriting. Something written below pure seminoma, all over something 20% like that you have written. If you open the slide.
Okay, post chemotherapy relapse. Pure seminoma accounts for less than 20%.
Pure seminoma?
It accounts for less than 20%.
Accounts for less than 20%. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
What about high dose chemotherapy, sir?
High dose chemotherapy, basically first line chemotherapy is BEP. If BEP is failed, the other options are TIP, BIP, DEIP, or high dose chemotherapy. High dose chemotherapy is basically carboplatin plus BEP along with stem cell rescue.
So what are the indications for this?
There is nothing. If patient is not responsive to conventional therapy, then you can give a trial of high dose chemotherapy. High dose chemotherapy, it is not found to be much useful. It is not found to be superior to the other drugs. So high dose chemotherapy, it is still in the trial basis only. It is not approved and it is not the standard of care.
Hello.
Only if the patient is failing on second line chemotherapy, then you enroll him in trials, and he can undergo a second line chemotherapy. He can undergo a high dose chemotherapy with carboplatin. And one more question that I can ask you is, why is high dose chemotherapy given with carboplatin and not with cisplatin?
The carboplatin is better tolerable than cisplatin.
Exactly. Carboplatin is better tolerable compared to cisplatin. Cisplatin has got drastic side effects like neurotoxicity, ototoxicity, NON, neurotoxicity, ototoxicity, and neutropenia.
Hello.
Else?
Hello.
Yes, anything else?
Sir, Ajay here, sir. Ajay this side.
Yes, Ajay.
Sir, in seminoma, about tumor markers, which tumor marker is more elevated in seminoma? Like AAP is not if AAP is elevated, then seminoma is ruled out, right,
Okay.
sir? Or then, sir, we have left with two options. Other is beta HCG and LDH. Then, sir, you told about beta HCG that it is positive in only 15 to 20% of the cases.
Okay.
So, sir, how should we diagnose seminoma based on tumor markers? If the BCG is only beta HCG is only positive in 15 cases, then it will be normal in 85% of the cases.
Okay.
So based on LDH only, we should diagnose seminoma or what, sir?
Point number one, LDH is not specific for any tumor. It is just only
tumor burden.
Yes, sir.
And the tumor markers are not for diagnosis. They are just for classification.
Okay. Biopsy is the final diagnosis.
Archidectin and then we can choose.
Thank you.
Sir, share PPT, please.
Only 100 people have given the survey. The remaining also, after you leave, please use that link and please give your survey, please. Any question?
Hello, sir. This is Shawan, sir.
Shawan, yeah.
Sir, so calculation of the dose of carboplatin, sir. In the same slide, it mentions two, sir. That is GFR into 7 plus 35 or GFR plus 25 into 7.
25 into 7.
GFR plus 25 into 7.
Sir?
25.
No, sir. Can you open that slide? You can see there, sir, please.
GFR plus 25 into 7.
Okay, here the slide mentions like that. Take it as 25.
Or one other.
I just doubt clearing. Doubt clearing ante. I can survey 100 people ఇచ్చొద్దు. Yeah. నేను చెప్పాను అనుకుంటా. Yeah, this is the slide. Where is 35 in this? Hello? Guys, there is no 35 here.
No, sir. 25 into 7 plus 25 or plus 25 into 7.
GFR plus 25 into 7.
Okay, sir.
This is an easy word for you to remember.
Okay.
So imagine if its GFR is 125.
Yes, sir.
125 plus 25 into 7.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
It is not 7 into 125 plus 25.
Yeah. Because that above one is mentions like that. Okay.
24 into 7.
Anything else?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Pushpen here. Sir, if after radiotherapy in seminoma, hello.
Yes. Go ahead.
Sir, in seminoma, after radiotherapy, if mass is persist, then what are the management?
After radiation, mass is persisting.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That is very unlikely because seminoma, as I told you, it is a sweet tumor. It melts like snow. It melts like your cement. Unlikely.
Yes, sir.
But still, if it is persisting,
yes,
only
sir.
option that you can go is that for a surgery, resection of the tumor. Seminoma.
Sir,
I'm extremely sorry. RPLND has no role anywhere in seminoma. Surgery has no role anywhere in seminoma except for FDG avid mass in the residual. So
any role?
Seminoma it will melt like anything. If it is not melting, if it is not responding to radiation, then it means that there is some non-seminomatous component in that.
Then CT guided biopsy, any role of CT guided biopsy or chemotherapy after persistent residual mass after radiotherapy?
Persistent mass after the radiation, any role of CT guided biopsy? I think no.
Sir, one question in review, board review.
Yes.
And that is that, in board review. And one question is mentioned that in seminoma, if, after radiotherapy, mass is persist and not responding, then go for CT guided biopsy to rule out the teratoma or other
exactly. That's what I am telling. Any seminoma that is not responding,
yes, sir.
You have to suspect a non-seminomatous component.
Okay, sir. Then we go for a CT guided biopsy.
I think right. I think you are correct. I think you should go for a biopsy, and you have to confirm that there is a non-seminomatous component. And once you confirm there is a non-seminomatous component, then you treat it in lines of non-seminomatous germ cell tumor.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Sir, one more. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, if in seminoma is greater than 3 centimeter nodes, or multiple retroperitoneal nodes, then first line is chemo or radio.
Seminoma? Sorry?
Seminoma. In seminoma, if greater than 3 centimeter node.
Greater than 3 centimeter, okay.
Yes, sir. Then first line is chemo or radio.
And chemo.
No, he is saying 2A, 2B scenario.
Yes, sir. 2A, 2B scenario.
2A, 2B scenario. Seminoma, 2A, 2B, radiation and chemotherapy, both are equally good.
Yes.
It depends on the patient profile. See, EUA doesn't commit on to anyone. I will show you. EUA, this is the slide. EUA doesn't commit on to either seminoma or so you don't worry, you won't be getting a question with a single best option. So this is the slide that I am posting for EUA. Who's speaking?
Yes. Hello, Pushpin.
Huh?
Pushpin.
Dost, you can see my slide?
Yes, sir.
So, EUJ doesn't commit. It says either radiation or.
In previous slide,
also recommendation, both are given as a strong recommendation.
Yes. In your
you don't
previous
worry,
slide
in
only.
CQ purpose, you won't be asked both.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Next.
Sir, in seminoma, one case scenario, sir.
First, tell your name and go ahead.
Prem, sir.
Prem.
Sir, in seminoma, if after doing orchidectomy, if we are having serum tumor markers having raised AFP, how do you treat, sir?
Seminoma with raised serum tumor markers post orchidectomy.
Yes, with AFP raising.
AFP raised. And what about the status of lymph nodes?
This is the case, just there is a line with seminoma with raised AFP, it should not be treated as seminoma, it should be taken as non-seminoma.
Hey, that's what. What is the status of lymph nodes?
Based on lymph nodes, we have to go. None. I mean, asking about.
I'm asking you, tumor marker AFP is raised.
Yes, sir.
And is there any lymph node also?
Yes, sir. Lymph nodes also there.
Lymph node also there. Seminomas generally they don't tend to produce any tumor markers. Okay.
Yes, sir.
If there is a rise of AFP, then I think you should consider NSGCT in this one.
Then treatment protocol goes
I
to
think
NSGS.
you should go for a biopsy and then you have to decide. But what you said is a very rare phenomena, very unlikely phenomena, because the primary is showing seminoma and the secondary is also showing non-seminoma is unlikely. It's a very rare phenomena. Generally, in most of the scenarios, the primary will be concordant with the metastasis.
Okay.
Harsha here.
Yes.
I think see it's already 9:15. You are hammering them with since morning 9 a.m.
The session is done. Those who are having any doubts, they can ask me. If there are no doubts, I think you can leave.
Okay.
Anyway, doubts you can leave. But my sincere request: please do participate in the survey and drop your reviews and opinions and suggestions for the betterment of these sessions.
Okay. One small suggestion to everyone who is online. Thing is, to consolidate what you are reading, it's always better to have this pocket EAU guidelines and pocket AUA guidelines. This kind of flow charts, they will help you in easily understanding the concept. Because once you understand the concept, as said earlier, it will be easy for you to answer the questions. When I prepared for my MCH, I did not know that you can read all this stuff. See, but once you read these kind of slides, it will be very easy for you. Okay, over to you, Kaushik.
Yeah.
Hello.
Any questions?
Sir, Harsha sir say one question I want to ask, sir.
Yeah.
Ajay here, sir. Sir, he has told today morning that in bladder carcinoma, if we want to do TURBT plus TURP, then we should decide if it is a low grade, then we can combine these both together, and if it is a high grade, then we should not do it combined.
Exactly.
So, sir, my question is, how should we decide that it is a low grade or high grade based on cystoscopy?
Okay. See, just a second.
Anything else for me?
Hello. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ajay. See, you asked a very beautiful regarding the categorization of low grade and high grade, low risk and high risk actually.
Yes, sir.
See, even in cases where practically, I'm a practicing urologist, tomorrow you all guys will be practicing. See, typically speaking, they'll give like that. In practice, you do not, you cannot know if it is low risk or high risk by just vision. But one characteristic feature that that can tell us if it is high grade or low grade is urine cytology. Urine cytology, one slide if you remember, 85% of the cases where cytology is positive, high grade. In low grade tumors, only 15% of the tumors will show cytology positive.
Yes.
So, baseline investigation before going for any T or BT or before anything, if you are doing a urine cytology, if it comes out to be positive, it means that you should have in mind that we are dealing with high grade tumor.
High grade,
If
yes.
cytology is positive in 85% of the times in high grade tumor, only 50% of times in low grade tumor. So this is one funda, and other things which we have mentioned: low risk group and high risk group, T staging, and less than 3 centimeters mass. All this will help you to evaluate low risk tumor.
Okay.
So if it is low risk and low grade, then you can plan for intravesical mitomycin, and you can also in this question you can plan for TRBT and TRP together.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. Clear, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, Harsha sir, one question, sir. I'm Koteshwar, sir.
Okay.
Sir, what is the role of examination under anesthesia in bladder carcinoma?
Examination under anesthesia, voluntarily I have, because voluntarily I have skipped during my session. Because practically, in my 3 years training in NIMS and post my NIMS training, I have never seen any senior surgeon, or I have never seen myself or my boss telling me to do a bimanual exam. It is only things, and that is a small. Previously, they used to ask what is the classification for bimanual examination. I think the answer is Marshall classification. It is obsolete now, because with the advent of excellent imaging technology like CT scan and MRI, preoperatively itself we are able to know if it is muscle invasive or not. So there is no point in still holding on to this old concept of examination. Hello. I hope I think right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we can have just know the name of the classification. That's enough, no, sir?
Modified Marshall classification.
Your voice is not properly audible.
Marshall.
Okay.
Marshall.
Marshall classification.
Okay, sir. Okay, yes, sir.
Because it's
Thank you.
no one is using it. Even Campbell
Yes,
also he has mentioned the same thing. It is that it is of.
Hello, Ashish sir. Ashish sir, this is Rakesh.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir. This is Dr. Rakesh.
Rakesh,
question
go
for
ahead.
Sir, Ashish sir. Sir, you said the contraindications for the BCG is traumatic catheterization. You have said no, sir.
Not audible, boss.
Contraindication for BCGs. Okay.
Sir, is it traumatic catheterization is a contraindication, or we can do it after 1 week?
Like traumatic catheterization is a temporary contraindication.
Okay.
Traumatic catheterization, active urinary tract infection. These are all contraindications. But once the infection resolves and once the catheterization trauma has resolved, I think you can go back. Am I correct?
Exactly. You may have to give a waiting period of 1 week, for 1 week to 10 days for it to epithelize. Then you can go for the BCG therapy.
It's an absolute contraindication, but temporary.
It is given in Campbell as absolute contraindication.
Temporary.
That's what I'm asking, sir.
Yes. It is the absolute contraindication according to Campbell. We have to follow it, because in MCQ it has been asked previously, which are the following is absolute contraindication, and
so we have to give absolute contraindication. Okay, sir.
Sir, this is Prem. After how many days again you have to do the BCG, sir? After traumatic catheterization?
After traumatic, see, you have the mucosa just take 40 to 72 hours, but on the safe side, in NIMS we used to follow for 1 week to after 1 week to 10 days we used to do. There's no set guidelines. Nowhere it is mentioned when you have to install BCG after traumatic catheterization.
Sir, could you tell me the cystoscopy, the check cystoscopy angles and the cystoscopy angles, and what are the questions will be coming?
No. That is definitely out of our MCH entrance examination preparation, because see, for the examination, the questions are asked only from Campbell. Yes, I have put up a slide.
Hello, sir.
Who's speaking?
Sir, Prem, sir.
Prem, what was your question?
No, the cystoscopy angles on which angle? Some 0 to
0
120
degree, 30 degree, 70 degree lens is used. Okay.
Yeah, for what type and which angles will be should be used?
The degree of the scope is just. Have you done laparoscopy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What difference you find between the 0 degree and the 30 degree lens?
The low 30 degrees, you can see the lower.
See, 30 degree, 0 degree, it's a straight thing. It's just like your torchlight. Torchlight focus, it goes only in one path. But if there is some angle, if it's having if the beak of the cystoscope is made into angle.
Sir.
Prem.
Sir, I'm listening, sir.
Yeah. If it's a 0 degree, you can only look straight forward.
Sir.
If it's a angulation at the tip of the scope, then you can look at the bottom. If you rotate it to the other side, you can look at the left wall. If you rotate it to the right side, you can look into the right wall, and you can look into the base in a better fashion compared to an 0 degree scope.
Sir. No, is there instrument and saying the angles and like that? Is there any questions like that will be coming?
Nothing will be for you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So,
hello, sir. Kaushik, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, regarding that UIA anastomosis picture thing. So in the text, it is written like that, as you said. In colonic and small bowel, they have given differently. But in that table, overall, they have... Pardon, sir?
Regarding Leduc, you're telling about Leduc?
Yeah, in small bowel, they have said that Leduc and serosal apposition. These two has the lowest risk of stricture with highest success in reflux preventing.
Okay.
Whereas in small bowel...
Just what I had given in the notes.
Yeah.
It is not my brain also. It is just a cut paste from Campbell.
Yeah.
So you can straightforward blindly go by that lines.
Okay.
All those lines are cut paste from Campbell, arranged in a decent fashion so that you can understand it more easily.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes?
Hello, sir. This is Shravan speaking here.
Shravan.
Sir, about the lymph node dissection in upper pelvic tumor, sir, for example, in renal pelvis, the usual done is standard lymphadenectomy or extended lymphadenectomy?
So, are you there? Okay. For a pelvic tumor.
Yes, sir.
You go for the standard or an
extended lymphadenectomy usually, or in MCQ.
Unless otherwise mentioned, always the dissection is standard dissection only. When do you do extended dissection? In any case, for that matter, in any case, if it is breast or if it is colon or if it is our bladder, anywhere, why you want to do extended dissection? You are doing extended dissection if you feel that there is high risk of harboring tumor mets beyond the normal landing zones. So you have to categorize the patient into low risk, intermediate, and high risk. Okay. If there is high risk tumor, then you have to plan for an extended dissection. But no clear guidelines have been given for you to use like in bladder tumor. See, in bladder tumor, they have already mentioned that if you find something positivity on frozen section, then you have to go for a extended or super extended. But unlike bladder tumor, there is no set of guidelines for UTUC, upper tract urothelial cancer. So for MCQ purpose, you have to answer RNU plus standard lymph node dissection.
Sir, and that point, the distal margin is in standard lymphadenectomy. Sir, I have put up the screenshot in a group where the distal is given common iliac for this one, standard lymphadenectomy.
Okay.
And extended lymphadenectomy, it is inferior mesenteric artery. Just the word means extended, it has to go beyond the common iliac, no?
In upper tract?
Yeah, I put the screenshot in group, sir.
Screenshot in group. Okay, anyways, I will see and get back to you on this concept then. I am not able to see this now.
Yes, sir.
Anyways, you one thing you can do, you can send the same screenshot to my personal number. I will see and I will clarify your doubt personally, not issue.
Okay, sir.
Where is it?
Okay, then guys, have a good night's sleep. Set up your basic and very soon again. 48 participants, I request you before leaving, just take 30 seconds of your time. Go and participate in the survey and please drop your suggestions and opinions regarding the session. Thank you very much. I think I will end the session now. See you very soon. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. Good night, everyone. You all had a good session. Okay, Kaushik. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah. Take care.